Hello and welcome to the Golden Playbook. Today we're going to run through some of my boldest predictions and intrusive thoughts for the 2025 football season. We have 17 of them to be exact. I will try to keep it brief, 30 to 45 seconds per, so this video doesn't take an hour long. But these are just some of the things that I think will happen this season, not a ton of data or anything like that behind them. Just intrusive thoughts of what I think will take place over the course of this fantasy football season. And let's go ahead and get it started. First one is a guy I've been harping on all summer long, and that is Calvin Ridley will finish as a top 15 PPR wide receiver. I think he's going to absolutely cook this season for the Titans. In a recent video, I compared his situation to Terry McLaurin's situation last year, with a rookie quarterback coming in who will be the best quarterback he's played with since he left Atlanta. And listen, we obviously saw last year what Terry McLaurin could do when he has a good quarterback. He obviously bursts at the seams, huge touchdown progression. Now, I'm not expecting Calvin Ridley to have 13 touchdowns, but I think he's going to be a money PPR guy. I think he's going to have a huge target share in this offense, upwards of 30%. Like I said, he really just has no target competition. I'm sure someone will step up into that role of getting, a decent amount of targets, but Calvin Ridley is the alpha dog in this offense. With Cam Ward coming in, I think he's going to be a huge reception guy, 100 receptions this year. So I love Calvin Ridley. I've been preaching it all off season. I'm expecting him to finish as a top 15 wide receiver. And then sticking with the Titans for my second one, I like Tony Pollard to score 10 total touchdowns. And yes, he did do this with Dallas in 2022. He had 12 total touchdowns that year. And I'm expecting Tony Pollard to get back in the form that we saw at the end of his Dallas tenure. As you can tell, I really like this Titans offense. I think they're going to be better than we're projecting them. I think Cam Ward is going to be better than we are projecting. And with that, it's going to come lots of touchdown opportunities for Tony Pollard, especially with Spears being out at least the first 4 weeks, if not longer. The high ankle injury is pretty serious and takes quite a while to get back from. Even once you get back into doing things, it has a nice long ramp up period. And so Tony Pollard is going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy getting 20 to 25 carries a game, should get all of the inside the 5 work, which is obviously huge for scoring touchdowns. Just ask Kyron Williams. He's the king of the inside the 5 touchdown. And I think Tony Pollard will do the same this year. I'd expect him even to catch a couple. So I expect 10 total touchdowns out of Tony Pollard. And I think that is a floor for him. I think he could see 12, 13, 14 touchdowns this season. I'm expecting big things out of Tony Pollard. And he is currently an excellent value in the 6th, 7th round of fantasy drafts as your RB2. Next up, we head to the Minnesota backfield. And I'm expecting big things out of Aaron Jones. I think he has enough gas in the tank left for one more good season out of him. And I'm expecting him to be so good that Jordan Mason just becomes a handcuff running back like a Zach Charbonnet. Currently, people are projecting Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason have a 50-50 split. But I think Aaron Jones is going to take that backfield as his own and be an absolute dog for one last season. Don't get me wrong, I think Jordan Mason is a great talent, great runner of the football, but he doesn't catch the ball, so he won't see 3rd downs, won't see 2 minutes, won't see 4 minutes. That'll all be Aaron Jones, and I think proving his worth in that, Jordan Mason is not going to see a ton of the field. Jordan Mason might get some goal line work, so that's the only thing I would be looking out for. But I think Aaron Jones is going to absolutely play well enough in this Minnesota offense with the new young quarterback who's going to want to dump the ball down to him. I think Aaron Jones will play well enough to force Jordan Mason into being just a premium handcuff, nothing more. Sticking with the running back theme for my 4th bold prediction, Dylan Sampson will be the most valuable back in Cleveland. And I do not have a lot of stats or analytics behind this, but I do know I liked him coming out of Tennessee. I know Judkins hasn't signed his deal yet, and even with it, it'll take some time for him to ramp up. So that leaves Sampson with Jerome Ford to contend with. And we know exactly what Jerome Ford is. He's a mid-tier guy. And Dylan Sampson is an explosive young rookie who can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think when it's all said and done, I'm not expecting this Cleveland offense to be amazing by any stretch of the imagination. They're supposed to be a bottom 5 offense. I think they will be decent with Joe Flacco at quarterback. But when it's all said and done, I think the most valuable back that comes out of Cleveland will be Dylan Sampson. I'm not saying it's going to be a top 10, top 20 season. I'm just saying Dylan Sampson will be the most valuable guy. Out of him, Judkins, Ford, whoever else they bring in, Sampson is the guy for 2025. Next bold prediction, some of you might not like, but Trey McBride will not score more than 4 touchdowns. Everyone is expecting a huge positive regression in touchdowns for Trey McBride, who has notoriously not been scoring touchdowns. But that's just who he has been over his career. You look at his college stats, obviously you look at his NFL stats so far, he's just not a touchdown guy, and they're just not drawing up plays for him in the red zone, or at least Kyler's not looking his way. I truly believe Kyler's height makes it hard for him to see Trey McBride over the middle when it comes to the red zone. And this is kind of an unpopular opinion because I'm still high on Trey McBride. I think he's going to have an excellent season. I think he's going to catch 100 balls, have so many yards, but I just don't think he gets over the hump with the touchdowns. I have him going no more than 4 touchdowns. Trey McBride's big touchdown season does not come this year. My next bold take, we stay in Arizona partially. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Keon Coleman are going to be surprise second-year breakouts. I know there was a huge, talented class. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., obviously studs in last year's class. But 2 guys going under the radar, Marv and Keon. I'm expecting both to make the leap in year 2, much like JSN, who had a quiet rookie season and made huge strides last year in his sophomore season. I think Marv, the talent is just enough that he's going to get over the hump. I think that offensive coordinator, who I definitely don't like, is going to figure out ways to use him at least a little bit more efficiently and not just keep him, stationary as an X receiver. Get him moving, get him in motion, kind of open up some plays. And honestly, I think they might force feed him like they do McBride. I think behind McBride and Marv, it's going to be a huge drop off in targets. So I really like Marv to take that leap. I don't know if it'll be a top 5 season per se, but I think he'll way more than pay up his value and be, a very solid pick for you in the 3rd or 4th round. And then same for Keon Coleman. It's a little bit easier taking the risk on Coleman just because it's so much later in the fantasy drafts. 9th, 10th round, you're grabbing Keon Coleman, who is obviously attached to the wonderful Josh Allen. And there's not really an alpha receiver there. You could say it's Khalil Shakir, but he doesn't fit the alpha profile, mostly plays out of the slot. Keon is a big guy, going to be on the outside, and Josh Allen loves to throw it outside the numbers. I think Keon Coleman was kind of steaming up last season until he got hurt, midway through the season. Like I talked about in a previous video, he was really kind of ramping up. And I think Keon Coleman will really surprise some people and have a nice sophomore year breakout, much like JSN did last year. My favorite part about betting on those guys, they're both in offenses that are obviously projected to be good. And like I said, one of the biggest things I preach, if you don't know who to draft guys that are going to be in good offenses, and both of them are supposed to be in good offenses. I really like the second-year breakout for both of these guys. Moving on, this is another one that'll probably be controversial, but I have the Commanders taking a big step of regression, making both Jaden and Terry McLaurin busts, relative busts at their draft position. I'm not saying Jaden's going to be, an absolute stinker, but relative to where you have to draft him, which is really 3rd, 4th round at the latest. Same for Terry McLaurin. I don't think they're going to pay up the value nearly as much as they did last season. Cliff Kingsbury's offense is notorious for getting figured out in his 2nd year in a new place. Debo's added to the mix, so, spreading the wealth a little bit more than just Terry. Obviously, there's question marks in the running game, between Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez. We don't know what the running game is going to look like, and I think that really hurts the efficiency of this offense. So I think the Commanders team as a whole is going to take a regression, and then I think Jaden himself will have a sophomore regression, making both Jaden and Terry busts relative to where you have to draft him in fantasy drafts. My 8th bold prediction is that Christian McCaffrey returns to 2023 form, averaging 20 points per game. I didn't want to say he would be the RB1 just because there's so many talented guys, but I think Christian McCaffrey is going to have a huge season. With the injuries to the weapons there, especially at the receiver position, I think they're going to rely on Christian so much, especially in the passing game. I would not be shocked if he is averaging 4 or 5 receptions a game, which is obviously huge for PPR value. I like CMC to be the focal point of this offense again, averaging 20 points per game in fantasy. Really love CMC. Hoping he stays healthy, expecting him to stay healthy, and I think he will do so for 2025. My next prediction is that we'll be talking about Devontae Smith and T. Higgins in the same tier this time next year. And this really isn't a knock on T. Higgins. I'm not expecting him to fall too much, maybe a little bit. Just with how things shake up, he'll probably be drafted a little bit later next year. That's just how it works. But this is really just a glowing remark for Devontae Smith. I think he's going to have a huge year this year. I know there are concerns where is there enough passing volume in this offense, and I think it's just going to be super efficient enough to where Devontae has a huge season, much like T did last year when he was healthy. And then we're going to talk about these guys as the top wide receiver twos on their team, both in the third, probably early third round next year. I think we'll be talking about these guys in the same breath. And like I said, it's not a knock on T per se. It's more of a glowing review of Devontae Smith. I think he's going to have a monster season. This next prediction is one that kind of hurts to the core a little bit, and that is J.K. Dobbins is going to do enough of the little things to prevent a true R.J. Harvey breakout this season. I'm a huge R.J. Harvey guy. I'm expecting big things, just not this year. I'm expecting him to have an Alvin Kamara-like role in this Sean Payton offense. But I think J.K. Dobbins is going to do enough of the little things that Sean Payton loves, the pass blocking, hitting the hole hard. He's going to be a team guy. And I think it's going to be enough to kind of solidify a starter's role for J.K. Dobbins and prevent a true R.J. Harvey breakout. I think it'll be a 50-50 split probably, but it's just not going to be enough for R.J. Harvey to kind of have the Alvin Kamara rookie season that we were hoping. And Dobbins is going to do just enough to be annoying and prevent the R.J. Harvey breakout. This one hurts me, but that's just how I feel. This next one is a little bit more bold, and that is that Caleb Williams will take the leap with Ben Johnson, finishing as a top 6 fantasy quarterback, with DJ Moore and Colston Loveland being the biggest beneficiaries of that. I'll talk about the last part first. I know there's a lot of hype about a Rome Odunze second-year breakout, Luther Burden rookie. I'm expecting DJ Moore to kind of fulfill that Amon-Ra role. Obviously, he's not going to do it to the level of the Sun God, but I think DJ Moore is just a very reliable receiver in the short to moderate areas. I think he's going to be huge, especially in PPR. And then Colston Loveland, I think he's going to have a rookie Sam Laporta season. I really do. I think Loveland is going to be a huge fantasy asset. And then Caleb's rushing upside is obviously there. We saw that last year with his 400+ rushing yards, and he didn't even have a rushing score last year. So I'm expecting a couple of those, and I'm expecting him to take that leap as a passer, much like Jared Goff has done under that Ben Johnson offense. Really like Caleb in his second year. I think he's going to turn it on, and I really like the Bears offense from a fantasy perspective going into 2025. My 12th bold prediction is that the wide receiver 1 overall is not going to be Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, or Justin Jefferson. And that is not a knock on any of these guys in this top tier who have been this consensus top tier all summer long. It has been these 3 guys. Chase kind of, the obvious 101. But these 3 guys have been in the top tier for the entire summer. And it's really not a knock on these guys. This is just a testament to how deep the wide receiver position is. The whole next tier of Malik Neighbors, Nico Collins, Brian Thomas Jr., Puka Nacua. I think all these guys could absolutely be the wide receiver 1 overall. And then there's guys in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, even 6th rounds that I think could still do this. That's how deep the position is. So like I said, this is not a knock on those 3 guys. I think they're going to have excellent seasons. I just truly think with how deep it is, I had a bet for those 3 guys to be the wide receiver 1 or the rest of the field, I would legitimately take the rest of the field. That's how deep the receiver position is. Still love these 3 guys. Obviously drafting them, where they're being drafted. I'm just saying the wide receiver position is so deep, especially at the top end. There's 8, 9, 10, 11 guys that could absolutely, easily be the wide receiver 1 overall. And I'm expecting that to happen. Sticking with the wide receiver theme, Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, both finished top 20. I am all in on this Jacksonville passing offense. Whether you believe in Trevor Lawrence or not, these are obviously the best 2 weapons he has had anywhere. Clemson, NFL, and I think he's going to lead them both to top 20 fantasy finishes. I just absolutely love this Jags passing attack, and it helps that I think they don't have a great pure rusher of the football between Etienne, Bigsby, Tootin. I think Bigsby's obviously the best rusher of the football, but I think overall they're just going to want to be airing the ball out. I'm expecting obviously a lot of work for the alpha dog BTJ, and I think Travis Hunter, whether the snap count is there or not, I think the target share is going to be there. They're going to dial up plays for their electric rookie to make plays on offense. I love the Jags passing game this year. BTJ, Travis Hunter, both top 20. Book it. Next up, CJ Stroud is going to be top 3 in pass attempts this year in the NFL. I wanted to say that he would lead the league, but I'm giving myself a little wiggle room saying he will finish top 3. Multiple things going into this. Offensive line is obviously bad, but their rushing attack is absolutely dismal when they don't have Joe Mixon. And it's looking like, Joe Mixon is at least out 4 games, may not even play at all this season. They brought in old man Nick Chubb, who has no explosiveness left. Rookie Woody Marks, Dare Gumbawale. With the bad offensive line, it is an absolute disaster class. They are not going to be able to run the ball. They're going to have to rely on the right arm of CJ Stroud, and I'm expecting them to do so. They brought in rookie receivers, Jaden Higgins, Jalen Noel, the veteran Christian Kirk. Obviously, Nico Collins is there. So take this information as you will. I'm expecting CJ Stroud to at least be top 3 in pass attempts. I honestly think he's going to lead the league. That's just how poor the run game will be, and they will just need to rely on CJ Stroud to throw the ball, which is obviously great for the receivers. I think Nico Collins will absolutely smash this season. But like I said, CJ Stroud, top 3 pass attempts, book it. This next one's another one I've kind of been harping on all summer long, so I'm officially staking my claim. Baker Mayfield will regress and finish outside the top 15 at the quarterback position. I think Liam Cohen leaving is absolutely huge and not getting talked about enough. I think it is going to be a massive, massive regression for Baker. Not to mention Godwin is out at least till October, they're saying, unknown. Second year guy who is kind of making some strides, Jalen McMillan, is going to be out at least 4 weeks with a neck injury. So that leaves old man Mike Evans and rookie Emeka Ibuka, who I both like. I just believe last season was the absolute top ceiling for Baker, and he did it under Liam Cohen's offense. To change that offensive coordinator, I think massive efficiency dips will take place this season. I don't think Baker's going to have enough rushing juice to get him over the hump. I think he's going to be outside the top 15 at the quarterback position this season. We have 2 more left for you. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. Make sure you smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, and comment down some of your bold predictions for this season. But my next one will be Josh Jacobs finishes as a top 3 running back. And this is a true testament to nobody being behind him. Marshawn Lloyd hurt for a 2nd season. Hamstring, he cannot stay healthy with the lower body injuries, leaving Emmanuel Wilson, who is absolute zero threat to him. I think Josh Jacobs is going to have another 10, 12, 14 touchdown season. He's going to be an absolute workhorse, 25 carries a game, and the volume alone is going to get him over the hump. I like Josh Jacobs to be a top 3 running back. And then my final claim, Justin Herbert finishes as a top 8 fantasy quarterback thanks to a huge spike rushing season of 400 plus yards. I think his mobility at the end of last season was very evident, and he is not coming off the foot or ankle injuries like he was at the beginning of last season. People forget he was pretty much immobile at the beginning of last season from that ankle injury. Now he is fully healthy, kind of showed some juice late in the running game, and I think with Amari and Hampton, having an explosive back there is going to open up some lanes of his own. I like Justin Herbert to finish top 8 thanks to the spike rushing season. And I really, really like this Chargers offense. I think they're going to be very, very efficient this season on the back of Justin Herbert, who I absolutely love in fantasy for 2025. Subscribe, you guys, subscribe. And those are my 17 bold predictions for the 2025 fantasy football season. Go ahead and bookmark this video so you can come back and tell me just how poor these were next year or at the end of the season. But with that being said, make sure you smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. I really do appreciate the support for you guys. And listen, we are 5 days away from the NFL football season. This is what we do it for. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.